The following spring, Clara decided to take a small trip with Lila, just the two of them, away from the bustle of New York, to a quiet town upstate known for its rolling hills and artisan communities. The trip was spontaneous, born from a shared longing for fresh air and perspective. They drove along winding roads, past fields dotted with early blooms, listening to music and sharing stories from their pasts and dreams for the future. Lila, sitting in the passenger seat with her sketchbook open, captured sketches of farmhouses, barns, and the colors of the hills, her enthusiasm infectious. Clara felt a serene joy she had not realized she was missing, the simplicity of being fully present, away from deadlines, appointments, and obligations. In the evenings, they would settle into a small inn with creaking wooden floors, fireplaces that radiated warmth, and windows framing the sunset over distant hills. Clara began to write again, jotting down reflections on the journey, her own growth, and the lessons of resilience she had witnessed in both herself and the women she had mentored. Lila often sat nearby, sketching quietly, occasionally showing her mother a drawing that captured a fleeting expression or emotion. They shared meals, laughter, and the occasional deep silence, each moment a reinforcement of the bond they had nurtured over the years. Returning to the city, Clara felt reinvigorated. She poured this renewed energy into both the boutique and her nonprofit efforts. The workshops she hosted became more interactive, drawing in larger groups of women who sought not only business knowledge but also emotional support and encouragement. Clara listened to each story, offered guidance, and celebrated each success, recognizing that the empowerment she had cultivated rippled far beyond her own life. She began to document these stories, compiling them alongside her own reflections, preparing what she envisioned as a second book, a tribute to resilience, community, and the power of shared experiences. One late afternoon, while closing the boutique, Clara noticed a familiar figure at the door, an older woman with kind eyes, holding a scarf she had purchased months ago. She introduced herself as Mara, and as they began talking, Clara learned that Mara had endured a series of financial setbacks and personal betrayals, yet she had slowly begun to rebuild her life with Clara's guidance in mind. Over the course of several visits, Mara became a trusted friend and collaborator, helping Clara organize workshops and exhibitions while sharing her own story of transformation. The connection reminded Clara that life's healing was often found in the shared journey, mutual understanding, support, and the courage to keep moving forward. As summer approached, Clara and Lila organized a joint exhibition, a combination of Lila's art and scarves designed collaboratively by mother and daughter. The event drew crowds from the local community, art enthusiasts, and customers who had followed the boutique's journey over the years. The gallery space was filled with laughter, discussion, and reflection. Women approached Clara, expressing gratitude for the inspiration, for the sense of possibility she had ignited. She realized in that moment that her life had evolved into something far larger than she had ever imagined. Her past heartbreak and financial struggles had transformed into a platform for empowerment, creativity, and hope. The quiet moments at home remained sacred. Clara and Lila, wrapped in scarves and blankets on the balcony, watched the sun set over the skyline. Whisker purred softly between them. They spoke of aspirations, fears, and fleeting thoughts, their conversations a mixture of introspection and shared amusement. Clara often reflected on how far she had come, from nights of isolation and fear to a life rich with purpose, connection, and love. She understood that closure was not about erasing the past but integrating it, honoring its lessons, and moving forward with intention. By the end of the year, Clara had launched a mentorship program for young women seeking to start their own businesses. The program emphasized financial literacy, creative expression, and emotional resilience. She worked closely with Lila, who shared her artistic expertise and served as an inspiring role model for the participants. Watching these young women grow, gain confidence, and take steps toward independence brought Clara a profound sense of fulfillment. The life she had once thought shattered had become a conduit for change, not just for herself but for countless others. As the city prepared for winter once more, Clara looked out over the skyline from her apartment, the streets sparkling with holiday lights. Lila was sketching at the table, whisker curled on the couch beside her. Clara sipped tea and breathed in the warm, comforting scent of home. Life had not been easy, but it had been rich in growth, love, and resilience. She understood now that true peace was not the absence of struggle but the embrace of life in its fullness, with all its unpredictability, challenges, and joys. And in that embrace, Clara found a deep, abiding sense of closure, gratitude, and hope for all the chapters yet to come. Winter fully descended on New York, blanketing the city in pristine snow that reflected the glow of streetlights and holiday decorations. Clara walked the quiet streets with Lila, hand in hand, savoring the crisp air and the occasional swirl of falling snowflakes. Life had settled into a comforting rhythm, but it was no longer routine, it was intentional, a deliberate weaving of creativity, love, and connection. Clara reflected on her journey, the heartbreak, the financial turmoil, the scams, the nights of despair, and the painstaking climb back towards stability and fulfillment. Each challenge had left its mark, yet it also carried a lesson she now cherished. The boutique continued to thrive, a space infused with both artistry and community. Clara had expanded her collaborations with other local artisans, turning her store into a gallery, a workshop space, and a hub for women seeking mentorship and inspiration. Lila's artwork had gained recognition beyond the city, with galleries in other states inviting her to participate in exhibitions. Watching her daughter grow into a confident, thoughtful, and ambitious young woman filled Clara with a quiet, enduring pride. She understood that her struggles had not just shaped her own resilience, they had created the foundation for Lila's courage and creativity. The nonprofit initiatives flourished as well, touching the lives of dozens of women each year. Clara personally mentored many of them, sharing not only business strategies and artistic guidance but also lessons in emotional resilience, perseverance, and self-compassion. She found that her greatest joy was in witnessing the small, transformative moments, women discovering their confidence, taking risks, and ultimately reclaiming control over their lives. The acts of giving, guiding, and listening had become her own source of healing, reinforcing that true fulfillment came not from wealth or recognition but from connection and the ripple effect of positive change. Clara and Lila maintained their sacred balcony evenings, wrapped in scarves of their own design, gazing over the city that had once felt so overwhelming and unforgiving. Whisker purred between them, a small but constant presence of comfort and companionship. These moments, though simple, were infused with significance, a celebration of survival, of love, and of the peace they had both cultivated. Clara often marveled that after all the chaos, the betrayals, and the financial struggles, life could be so full, so rich, and so deeply satisfying in its quiet triumphs. One afternoon, Clara received a letter from a distant relative she had not spoken to in years. It carried an invitation to a family gathering in upstate New York, a reunion that she had once feared attending due to old judgments and expectations. This time, however, she accepted with a sense of calm and readiness. At the gathering, she was met with warmth, curiosity, and respect. Conversations flowed easily, free of the tension that had marked previous interactions. She realized that healing and closure were not solely personal endeavors, they also allowed for reconnection, forgiveness, and understanding in relationships long strained. As the year drew to a close, Clara prepared for the quiet reflection that winter always brought. She reviewed her journals, sketches, and notes, seeing the growth mapped across time in tangible form. The scars of the past were visible but no longer painful, they were part of the tapestry of her life, woven into a narrative of resilience, love, and hope. She wrote letters to the women she had mentored, to Lila, and even to herself, acknowledging the courage, persistence, and grace that had carried them through. Each word was a testament to survival and a celebration of the life she had built from fragments of heartbreak and struggle. On New Year's Eve, Clara and Lila stood on their balcony, gazing at the fireworks illuminating the skyline. Whisker perched on the railing nearby, eyes reflecting the bursts of color. Clara held Lila close, feeling the weight of the years, both the heavy ones and the joyful ones, and she whispered a silent gratitude for every lesson, every tear, and every triumph. Life had not been easy, but it had been profoundly meaningful. She had found peace not in perfection but in acceptance, growth, and connection. And as the city roared its celebration below, Clara felt a deep, unwavering sense of closure, contentment, and hope, a life fully reclaimed, fully lived, and fully loved.